Hey people, welcome back. In this session, we are going to learn about the X bar R chart. X bar R chart is a control chart which basically help us to identify the variability and the stability in the data. We look for the variation out of the data point in a subgroup as a range, and we look for the average of the subgroup. So when you have more than one individual data point and you wanted to make an average of that data for any subgroup, like as example, you have the 4 machine or 5 machine, but at the end of the day, you are looking for the average value. Suppose you have a production you are doing and it's a shift wise, maybe let's say shift A, B or C. And at the end of the day, you are looking for the average of the shifts. And you are looking for how much is the variation in the shift from the one to other. And the differences is the range, max minus minimum, and then we plot the X bar R chart. So let's generate some data. Maybe you have the day wise production, maybe day 1 or day 2 like this you have. And similar way, here is the month ke days. And this day 1, day 2 and so on you have, let's say. Suppose you have collected the data for last, maybe let's say 25 days. And now you have the production for all the 25 days. But at the end of the day, you are looking for the what is your average production and what is the range of this data. So to plot such kind of data, we use X bar R chart or average and range chart. So let's say I'm generating some random data for the shift. Maybe your production is around 20 to 25 per shift you have. And this is for 3 shift and all 25 days. So we got this data generated. Now, if I look for the average of the data, so average of these 3 shift for the day 1 is 21.33 unit of production, where the range we can calculate as a maximum value out of these 3 value and minus minimum value out of these 3 value, and that will become your range value, which is range is 4, because we see 24 minus 20. 24 is the max, 20 is my minimum, so 24 minus 20 is the range. And we generate this data for the average and the range for everything. Here there is no range is 0, which was all 3 days, all 3 shift you have the 24 value. So this data is ready to plot over the X bar R chart. So what when you will see X bar R chart, Minitab will automatically calculate the average and will plot, and Minitab will automatically calculate the range and will plot this data. So if I copy paste this data in the Minitab, let's say here in a new worksheet, and now I want to plot the X bar R chart. So we'll go to the stat, control chart for subgroup, and we select the X bar R chart here. Now you have the data, all observation of chart in one column. No, actually I have 3 different columns. So I will select observation of subgroup R in one row of the column. And these are the 3 columns I selected. Then, as in the last session, I was explaining the rule. We will be selecting all of these 8 rules to perform the test. So rule number 1 says, if any data point is outside the 3 standard deviation from the center line, then there is a special cause of variation. Rule number 2, if you have 9 data point continuously and they are either below the center line or above the center line, then the rule number 2 will fail. Rule number 3, if you have 6 data point, they are either in increasing or decreasing order continuously, then rule number 3 will fail. Rule number 4, if you have 14 data points, they are alternating up and down, which means one data point is up, one is down, like zigzag they are making, then rule number 4 will fail. Rule number 5, if you have any 2 data point continuously out of 3 data point, which is outside the 2 standard deviation from the average line, then the rule number 5 will fail. Rule number 6, if you have 4 out of 5 data point and they are outside the one standard deviation from the average line on the same side, either below the average line, 4 data point out of 5, or above the average line, then the rule number 6 will fail. Rule number 7, if you have 15 data point continuously in a row and they are very close to the center line, which means they are within one standard deviation of the center line, then the rule number 7 will fail. Opposite to that, rule number 8, if you have 8 data point continuously, they are outside the one standard deviation from the center line, then the rule number 8 will fail. So basis on all of these 8 rules, we interpret the X bar R chart. How? Let's click on OK. Again, click on OK, and you will see the X bar R chart here. So what we calculated, this is your overall average, 22.56 out of this data. Then these are the individual data, all the 25 data points, and the difference. So which is the individual data is coming? First value, if you see, 21.33. This is what we calculated, 21.3 here. If you want to make it to in the double digit. So 21.33, and difference of these three value, max minus minimum, is range is 4, which is plotted here. So this value, the range value is 4. As the second range is 0, which means all values are constant. So we can see the second row, all the values are constant, average is 24, range is 0. So you can see the average is 24 here. Like this only for all the data points will be collecting and will be plotting. So as of now, there is no special cause of variation in this. In case you want to see maybe any of the rule, if you say, suppose these are the, maybe let's say any rule, let's say rule number 1, here the range is, rule number 1, if this point, if I increase from 24 to maybe average value upper control limit is 25. So I just increase, this is row number 12, right? So row number 12, if I increase to some value, rule number 1 will fail. So 25, 24, 23, if I make it to, let's say, 28. Let me see now, and I rerun this test. So not yet. Rule is not yet failing. Let me add it from 28 to maybe 32. Then now we can see, yes, the one data point is going outside the control limit and the rule number 1 is failing here. Explanation of that rule is given in the bottom. So this is the way we plot and interpret the X bar R chart. So what we'll do next, why this average value is going out of the control limit, we need to investigate and fix it permanently so that same thing should not happen again. This is what we'll be doing. All right. Thank you so much, people, and I'll see you in the next session.